Welcome back to LePodcast episode 73. As always, you're here with Hoop, Sainey, and the infamous ZZ Hunt Show. It's a very somber day in the recording studio from our respective homes. When the playoffs first started, there was only one of us that wasn't dancing. Now all three of us aren't dancing, as the New York Knicks and the Golden State Warriors were eliminated in round 2. The bragging rights are over. We're all on even ground. Sainey wore a blazer in his basement to record today with his LePodcast merchandise underneath, which is fire, dropping when this recording is out, May 16th. Go Cop. But I'm going to give him the floor. I know he's been waiting for this moment. How does it feel, man?
Well, number one, you might be asking, where do I go find the LePodcast merch? The store link will be in all of our social media bios, alongside the LePodcast social media bio. Number two, it's a good day. It's a good day. I don't think I've ever been more grateful to be on the show, to be able to sit here in front of you two gentlemen, and to be able to have the spotlight like I do right now, to be able to say this. And I'm just gonna get straight to it. I don't want to keep you guys waiting here, but yeah, Warriors and the Knicks. We have a good chance because we're better than the Detroit Pistons. You said we were going to be worse than the Detroit Pistons. I don't care who I said you were going to be worse than, because at the end of the day, you're in the exact same spot that the Detroit Pistons are, and that's at home, my boy. Warriors, don't think I forgot about the Warriors. Don't think I forgot about the Warriors now. Them Warrior boys, how they doing? How's that dynasty going?
He's coping hard. Sainey, this is nasty work, bro.
All I'm saying is, yeah, my team didn't make the playoffs, but you know what? My team has 40 first-round picks. You know what? Your team has 40-year-olds, ZZ Hunt Show. And you know what? Your team has, Hoop. You know what your team has? They have the Knicks logo on their jersey. We all know how that's going to turn out. Get out of here.
Oh, my gosh.
Get out of here. Oh, I can't wait to own the future. And I love watching the downfall of the process that you guys try to add. Now, Z, I'll give you credit because the Warriors were a dynasty for a while. But let's also remember and not forget that Z joined the bandwagon after they won their ring. So ZZ Huncho has never seen a ring as a Warriors fan, nor will he ever see a ring as a Warriors fan, so long as the team that is placed on my hat, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder, still exists. And it's a good day. It is a great day to be on this podcast with a Warriors and a Knicks fan. But if we want to get started with this episode, we can.
My morale has dropped. All I could say is, I didn't want to rub it in because I said at the really early time of the year when the Warriors started slow, how the Knicks would end up with a better record. Never flaunted it because I knew the playoffs would come around and the Warriors would likely go on a run. It's unfortunate that Steph Curry couldn't find help this year. It's unfortunate that Jalen Brunson couldn't find help this year, but we're in the same place. Yeah. So I'm not even going to say that much. Even though we surpassed expectations and you failed them, you don't get any kind of glory until you win the whole thing. So I'm not trying to make this like we're in a better spot right now. Like Sainey is. You see what Sainey's trying to do? He's like, we're in a spot for the future. Nah, bro, if you don't win a ring, you don't get anything around here.
Yeah.
So we're all in the same spot.
Listen, I'm just gonna harper on this for a split second. I know the Discord was waiting and waiting patiently for me to respond for the last 48 hours, which I did eventually.
I never responded.
You did.
They were tagging me like crazy.
They were tagging me like crazy. But I'm a man of the people. So eventually, after I calmed down and repaired the wall that I punched a hole in, everything was cool. I wanna quote one of the best players in the league, Giannis Antetokounmpo, where he said, "There's no such thing as failure, really. There's steps to success." And when I look at this Warriors team, and Sainey saying the dynasty's over, I really don't believe that. I don't believe the dynasty's over until that man number 30 hangs up those Currys. You understand what I'm saying? You see, because the thing with the Warriors is, when you look at the team going into the offseason, as a Warrior fan, I've said all year that I wish they had a solidified big. I wish they, if not a solidified big, then something of an Andrew Bogut-esque from 2015, a rim protection like that, just to help out Loon. There's no reason that Kevon Looney should be going out there and getting 20, 25 rebounds a night and not getting paid $25 million a year. Come on now. He might as well give him a max at this point, damn. But, I mean, he wasn't supposed to be able to do that. If they had somebody like, I don't know, a Brook Lopez or something, just something new, right? But we'll talk about that on another episode. Right now, I want to get through everything else. The Warriors dynasty is not over, ladies and gentlemen. But it's over for now. And now we look at our precious king as his quest for a fifth ring continues, and the script revolves around LeBron Raymond James. Moving forward.
Yeah, just quickly on my
No.
Knicks.
Oh,
What?
Casual Warriors fan blaming the script. Blaming this imaginary script.
I thought he was cutting me off.
Casual fan. No, sorry, Hoop. I just had to address that real quick. But no, you Warriors fans always talking about this script. Like the last 9 years haven't been written for you.
Hey, you
Get
ain't
outta
lying.
here.
You ain't lying. But guess what? The script ain't over. This is just a different chapter right now. We'll circle back to chapter 5 for the
77.
Warriors. Yeah, chapter 77.
Yeah, as for the New York Knicks, we surpassed expectations, but with the way the media and Knicks fans react to the season, it was as if it was a complete collapse. Now, I'm scared because I feel like, I don't know this Knicks front office well enough. They haven't been around long enough to know that they'll make stupid moves like the rest of the Knicks GMs, but I'm just praying that they go for it all. I don't want them to make a cheap move where it's like, let's move a guy who's not working right now and get Cat, let's get Damian Lillard. And while those guys are great players, they are not going to bring us sustained success. I'd rather them trade off players that don't work and get meaningful pieces, even if it's not a superstar or a centerpiece, like Stephen A. Smith is saying, just trade away Randall for anyone at this point. You need to build up. Jalen Brunson's a great piece you saw, and I want them to catch the biggest fish. Like, when's Giannis going to become available? I'm not saying just get him now, but you got to make an environment where someone like that wants to come over instead of just getting anything you can. That is such a Knicks thing to do. Yeah. But regardless, we'll see what happens. I'm happy with the season. Shout out the New York Knicks.
I agree with you. I do not think that the Knicks should look to trade for another guard. That doesn't really make sense to me, unless it's like a Klay Thompson type guard. Getting a ball dominant guy. I remember me and you had this conversation, and at first I was like, oh, Dame would be cool. And then when you brought up the point of like Dame's like volume and how his usage rates and stuff, I was like, yeah, I don't think that would work. There's a reason why we weren't calling Brunson a superstar in Dallas.
Well, yeah, because Brunson needs the ball.
I think Brunson has always been like this. He just finally has his opportunity to show it. So I'm not against the Cat trade for the Knicks, depending on the package they make. Like, if it's a package centered around RJ Barrett, why not?
Yeah, but you can't make this like your final.
Yes, I agree with you.
You can't be like, all right, this is our team. No, it's not.
I don't think Cat can be a first, maybe not even a second option on a championship team.
No.
See, my thing is I do want to give a lot of credit to Jalen Brunson for his performance this season, because going into the season, I was high on him. I don't know, it was something about watching him in that first round last year without Luka. And I was just like, it's weird that if you give him the keys to the offense, he just looks like a superstar. Not only does he look like a superstar, he can get everybody else involved. Like, he's just incredible. It is weird. Between the two of them of Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle's the guy that has to go. That's the subtraction right there. The addition was Jalen Brunson. You ran with it for a season, and what you got was the same result that some Knicks fans might have expected out of Julius Randle. Those Knicks fans, I assume, would be Stephen A. Smith. I don't know if you expected this hoop, necessarily a collapse in the final two closeout games from Julius Randle. I mean, he played pretty well, I believe, in, what was it, game 5, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he played fine in MSG, but that's why when we had the duos discussion, I was a little lower on them than you guys were. Just because as much of a Julius Randle supporter as I am, you can't ignore what he is. And I think that the bigger issue with him is that he's playing a role he's not supposed to play, and he looks awful in it because he's not meant for it. So
the thing that gets me the most mad about Julius,
to Philly.
Let's move on. I guess.
You could finish up, Z.
I'm just going to say this about the last thing. The thing that gets me the most upset about Julius Randle, who I don't know if you agree, but it's the fact that when he is hitting, everything works for the Knicks. It just seems like everything works. Even other guys are getting involved. When he's not hitting, the body language is like he would rather be anywhere else. But even when his team is winning, like even when Jalen Brunson is going off or RJ's going off, it looks like he's mad that that's not him. And that's my biggest gripe with him. But that's it. It's enough on Julius.
Yeah, time to talk about the MVP who acts in a similar way. Oh my goodness, Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid has no dog in him, unlike Hoop's dog, who's currently barking. If only Embiid could bark like that in the playoffs. But I think the debate of Embiid versus Jokic is over. And you might think I'm saying this off of recency bias, but I'm not, unless you call recency bias the last 4 years of playoff experience. When I look at Jokic and when I look at Embiid, and ultimately, the best way to end this debate is to think, if you were to start a basketball team, who would you take? Who is the better player, Jokic or Embiid? Now, looking at both of their successes, I think it's a clear-cut choice that you take Jokic. And when it's the obvious choice that, Jokic is the guy you would build around, or Jokic is the better basketball player to take on a team that you're building, hypothetically, then why do we even have a debate of Embiid versus Jokic at that point then? When, to me, if you had asked me that question, I'm not thinking anymore. I'm not thinking. Because Embiid has crumbled time and time again. This wasn't a Game 7 crumble, by the way. This was a whole series. He played like freaking garbage. Now, you could bring up the point, he was injured. He's injured in his past series, whatever. But I don't care. At the same time, he's about to turn 30. I feel like this MVP, I'm going to say it right now, I think he deserved, he definitely played to an MVP level. Now, I'm not hating on his MVP season. He did play like an MVP caliber player. But a part of me wants to think that he edged out Jokic due to sympathy. Due to if we give Jokic, it's just going to create a riot. Embiid's always been at the top with him. Let's just give it to Embiid. Because
here, bro, stop whining.
Literally, because to me, in my humble opinion, I would have looked to Jokic when I'm looking at the MVP. I would have looked to Jokic. And Jokic is proving this playoff run who the real MVP is. It ain't Giannis. It ain't Embiid. It's none of the other, it's not none of those guys. It's Jokic. And side thing, crazy. I don't know if you guys saw that Mark Jackson left Jokic out of his top 5 in voting. And Mark Jackson has a vote for MVP. See, this is where I have an issue with these voters and who gets to decide who the MVP is. Imagine how much that affected Jokic's case.
I'm gonna come to his defense.
When he left Jokic outside of the top 5.
I agree that is egregious, but he came out and said, and if you look at the ballot, he followed this format. For whatever reason, this old man thought that it was 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center. So that's who he put on his ballot. Is that a great excuse for a coincidence?
No.
I don't. What?
I'm not accepting that as an excuse. You have the prestigious...
that is an awful mistake,
that's not a mistake that you do not freaking make, because that can affect someone's legacy. If Jokic got 3 MVPs in a row, think about where we would place him right now, right?
Let's just say...
I'm not excusing that. That's not... Mark Jackson has been in the NBA for how long? Around the NBA for how many years now? Decades.
It's like a text you look at at 2 a.m. and just respond with what you think it says.
He didn't. It's like he didn't care about it. He just made an assumption, if the excuse even is true. Because for all we know, he might have just got caught, right? There's 2 ways to look at it. Either he made that big of an excuse, which is outrageous, or that big of a mistake, which is outrageous, or he just got caught and made an excuse about it. Because,
or he just swung and missed, and he didn't hit it out of the park this time.
Yeah, but as somebody who gets to make a vote that can clearly dictate,
all world.
You actually have a vote that matters so much to a player's career, and that being out the top 5, bro, that definitely dropped Jokic's stock so much. Right?
Oh my God. Yes, I agree.
Because imagine it's just players going back and forth. Oh, Jokic is second, Jokic is first, Embiid's second, Embiid's first. And then once somebody says Jokic is 6th.
Yeah.
That'll drop you in the MVP race.
It's terrible.
We're kind of getting off track here. Let's get back to playoff talk. All I'm saying is Jokic is the real MVP this season. He proved it, and I have the Nuggets going to the finals.
The way that I see this is Joel Embiid just... y'all saw that tweet where it was Joel Embiid is 30 and he has never made it to the conference finals. Here's my thing with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, I think, when we talk about protected superstars in terms of the media, I feel like Joel Embiid's name gets brought up, but it always gets brought up in the other light of you mean to tell me that he finally gets an MVP award this year? He led the league in scoring last year. He didn't get it. Like Sainey said, I look at it as a pity award too. They were just here, motherfucker, damn, take it, here, Lord. And then we get to the playoffs. He went from averaging 33 point something a game in the 34 a game in the regular season to 23 a game in the playoffs. And I remember Hoop was talking about this in one of the episodes recently, right after the Nets-Sixers series, about how he gave credit to the Brooklyn Nets for the way in which they were defending Joel Embiid, because they were keeping him he was scoring the basketball, but it wasn't at an efficient clip as what we saw in the regular season. Then we fast forward to this series, and some Joel Embiid stands will say, oh, well, you got to point to the injury. He's playing with a knee brace. I'm like, I get all of that. I really do. However, when we look back in recent NBA history, or at least his playoff NBA history, it's like, can you point to a series where Joel Embiid was undoubtedly like the best player? Can you point to a series where Joel Embiid gave us a performance like he gave us against Jokic in the regular season? I know that they're in two different conferences, but I'm just saying. Like, I think back to that Raptors series last year. I think he had a couple of good games in game 2, but we knew they were going to lose that series. Come on, be realistic. Now we're talking about him going up against the Celtics as soon as they match up on the marquee, and everybody's talking about how they're 1-8. They're not going to win.
The Sixers get the
Celtics.
The Sixers get the same BS cycle every single season, and it's do great in the regular season, get the easiest first-round matchup you could ask for, Joel gets injured, and then they lose in the second round. It's the exact same cycle. It's the same story with the 76ers. I get deja vu every season, seeing it play out the exact same way. And frankly, if I was a 76ers fan, I would hate my life being a fan of that team, because you're losing off of...
Yeah.
No, seriously, man.
I hate my life.
Bro, like, as a no, like, not like, hate being a 76ers fan. I would hate being a 76ers fan.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's not like you're losing in different fashion. It's not like you're losing in a way where it's like, you know what, respectable, our team played their hearts out and we lost. You're losing because your star player fumbles every time, and then he has the decency to go to the post-game conference and say, me and James need help. When if you look at the stats of, I'm going to bring them up right now. I'm pretty sure like everybody else shot over 50%, but James and Embiid combined for 2 for 25. Maxey went 7 for 15. Tobias Harris, thank you, Lord, had a good game. Right? Like, he was shooting the ball decent, and like all the other role players are doing their job. You get paid $200-something million. James Harden gets paid hundreds of millions of dollars. Tyrese Maxey's getting paid like a quarter of that. Tobias Harris, fair enough, should be doing a little more, but he's still pulling some
Tobias
sort of
Harris
weight, right?
over me.
It's funny.
It's not a situation where you could go into an interview and be like, yeah, me and Harden do everything. You do everything. You do everything, but I don't know. I'm go. I'm gonna start yelling.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say too. The second, so like in Game 7, I knew Boston was gonna win because it's a big brother effect with Philly at this point, and Joel is the ultimate little brother. When he gave a jab step to Al Horford on the left elbow and shot a fadeaway jumper on like the first possession, I knew that game was over. I've seen this story too many times. People are gonna say, oh, if he didn't have a knee brace, he would actually attack him. No, he's not. And if he's always going to have that knee brace on. This is who Joel Embiid is at this point. Z said it before. He's always injured. And I was like, oh, man, maybe one more year. Because in injuries, it was his face. It was his bro. Something is going to happen. And he is going to play passive. This is who Joel Embiid is. He's going to whine at the press conference. He's gonna cry, throw his teammates under the bus. And I brought it up before. I don't want to go on another rant. But Knicks fans after the game said, let's trade for Joel Embiid. These are the problems you're trying to get rid of. So you want to live in pain. Instead of living in pain in the second round, we could live in pain in the conference finals, maybe.
I'd love to bring this up. I'd love to bring this up because I want people to understand.
We got to keep talking about this.
I want people to understand like how ridiculous that statement that Embiid made in the conference was. Like, if you took accountability, okay, that's a different conversation. But the reason I want people to understand, the reason why I'm going at the Sixers so hard right now is because after Embiid puts the blame on his teammates and he singles out James Harden from not being in the blame, only him and James, they're singled out. They didn't do anything. Let's look at the starter stats, okay? So,
read them off.
Out of the 5 starters in Philadelphia, 4 of them got double digits in scoring, right? James Harden was not one of them. James Harden had 9 points, okay? Now, scoring leaders. James Harden, worst of the starters, with 9 points, 3 for 11. Fourth is PJ Tucker, 4 for 7, 3 from 6 from 3, 11 points. PJ Tucker is not supposed to be doing much. So the fact that he's doing better than Harden already should say something. Third place, Joel Embiid, 15 points. 5 for 18 shooting, and he had 6 free throws, 5 for 6 from the free throw, right? Okay, 0 for 4 from 3, 0 for 4 from 3, Joel Embiid. Second, Tyrese Maxey, 5 for 12, 2 for 6 from 3, 5 and 5 from 3-point line, or 5 and 5 from the free throw line, 17 points. And then Tobias Harris leads them in scoring with 19 points, right? It's like, bro, you and Harden, and I shouldn't even mention PJ Tucker because he's not a scorer. Out of the 4 scorers in that lineup, you and Harden were the worst by far. By far. Your shooting numbers were terrible. And I'm sorry, I said 7 for 25. That was the wrong number. They went 8 for 29 combined from the field. 8 for 29 from your 2 superstars in a Game 7 situation. Now, it's not like it was a great defensive game. I don't want people to think that. It was not a great defensive game because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for 76 points. Jason Tatum has 51. Jason Tatum goes 17 for 28. The game before, he was like 0 for 13, right?
And they should not be in a Game 7. Philly choked. They not only did they do themselves dirty, but they had a chance to possibly sink the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown Celtics. You could have damaged their confidence. You could have sent them into a spiral in the offseason. The people that you have been trying to beat desperately for the last half a decade, but you let this man just outwork you, and I don't even know what he did in that fourth quarter.
You guys want to hear
Jason Tatum turned up, and now the Celtics are on an uptick to where they are on the positive side of those inconsistent. They could win the NBA Finals right now. I feel like they're going to play out of their minds.
Yeah,
and it's all Philly's fault.
You guys want to hear a crazy stat?
Go ahead.
That I just came up with looking at the stat sheet. I don't think anybody's mentioned this. Jason Tatum took 28 shots. Embiid and Harden combined took 29 shots. Embiid and Harden combined make 8. Jason Tatum makes 17.
Bro.
Jason Tatum alone not only outclassed 2 superstars combined, embarrassed 2 superstars combined.
Don't say James Harden's a superstar.
Jaylen Brown.
We can't even give him that title.
I don't think we can. I think at the start of the season, I still would have given it to him because it's James Harden. I think you're right.
I'm saying Jason Tatum took his superstardom. Like,
this
is not
and Jaylen Brown, by the way,
goodness.
Jaylen Brown, by the way, took as many shots as Joel Embiid, or one more shot. He took 19, Embiid took 18, but he made more field goals than Harden and Embiid combined.
So let me just say, I'm wearing my James Harden jersey right now. This is a Houston Harden jersey. I told the Discord like a couple hours ago that I would be discussing James Harden because all playoff long, every time James Harden had a good game, all I saw was at ZZ. Harden the playoff choker now. Bruh. And what did I say? Harden's bound for a couple of good games, especially early on in a series. In a 7-game series, you're destined to see Game 1 Harden, Game 3 Harden, Game 4 Harden. But if it's a 7-game series, usually, as history has shown us, Harden really just keeps on declining, and it's weird. I was talking to my boy about this the other day. I was like, does James Harden have the same cycle as Chris Middleton? Chris Middleton has his moments in the playoffs, or at least he did a couple of years ago back during the championship run. We were like, oh, yeah, bro's either playing like prime Michael Jordan or prime Anthony Bennett. With James Harden, it's like, do y'all realize that in this 7-game stretch, James Harden had 5 games where he scored 4 field goals or less in 5 games in a 7-game series?
I don't want to compare it to Chris Middleton because I feel like Chris Middleton will just miss shots. James Harden looks like a ghost.
He looked shook last. I was watching him, and I said in Discord because they were like, after the first half, they were like, oh, Z might be on to something. I'm like, dude, in the second half, I'm hoping that he just wants to play basketball. He looks scared. Like he's dribbling ball with his foot,
pass out of floaters, pass out of layups.
I'll say this.
Another thing, passing out of the floaters. That's the big thing. That's what Ben Simmons got traded for. And then here we go with James Harden doing the exact same thing. Shout out to Ben Simmons for that Instagram story. That was absolutely hilarious. But go ahead, Sainey.
I'll say this. I know we had an episode earlier in the year talking about if James Harden's a playoff choker. Now, I'm not going to say that Z was right at the time, but I'm going to say that Z is right now. Okay? So I'm going to side with Z and say that I do believe that because it's 2 seasons in a row now with Philadelphia. And
no, I'm off it too.
I'm off the train, but I'm not saying that Z was right from the start because I do think that he gets overhated for his Houston playoff performances. I'm still 10 toes on that. But I do agree with Z now that James Harden is not a playoff performer. And I would not take James Harden on my team if I'm looking to win a championship. Now, that does not mean that I'm giving Z the W from the episode 44, was it? But I will say now he's correct.
You
I'll take the
cannot
W.
throw James Harden, Joel Embiid, and Doc Rivers on
Rivers.
one franchise
No.
and expect them to win.
Oh my
a
God! Can we
meaningful
talk about
playoff
Doc
series.
Rivers?
Please.
Hold
let's go.
up. Can I? Because I want to get to the Celtics side of things first.
Okay.
Because I've gotten a lot of people tagging me in the Jason Tatum 51-point performance. That was incredible. Now, like my biggest statement was that he's not a superstar, and as everyone or as you guys know, I hold that to people who are consistently top 5 players in the league. I think Jason Tatum has grown a lot this season, especially after the downfall, where I've seen him his floor has risen to the point where even if he shoots 0 for 10 in the first quarter, he provides defense, he provides playmaking, he still provides rim pressure. I still feel like Mazzulla holds him back severely. But when he is on, he has a ceiling higher than almost anyone in the NBA. When that is slightly more consistent, I think it's like pretty easily that he's a superstar. He has a big series to gain confidence against Miami. I mean, it could be competitive because, Miami just has dogs over there. But from an outside looking in perspective, I think Boston should handle them. And then he gets a playoff series against, maybe it's the Lakers where they've just been interesting defensively, or it's Denver where he might be able to take advantage, and Boston can win a championship. So, I mean, if he can, I think Philly did him a huge favor. And I don't want to say that like Philly choked it, because he took it. Like he just took it. So shout out Jason Tatum.
I love how right after that performance where he went like over 10 for the first 3 quarters, in the post-game conference, he goes, humbly, I'm one of the best basketball players on the planet, and then drops 51. So, I mean, kudos. You're good when you talk highly of yourself after a bad game. Like, that's
I agree.
like, you can, any man can like trash talk when they're doing good, right? But for you to trash talk while you're down and then do that, I mean, I got it, like,
kudos.
Props. But,
he's my favorite Kobe Bryant impersonator.
Yeah.
Devin Booker only talks when he's up.
No, that's very...
No, we're getting into that because Devin Booker skipped his post-game press conference.
He did.
That's ridiculous.
That is literally what Luka said.
Yeah.
Bad
I'll
look.
say this. I want to talk about Doc Rivers because I feel like that's the perfect segue into more coach talk, because we have a few things to address after that. But I think Doc Rivers is probably one of the worst cases of they only have a job because of a ring they won in the past. And that 08 ring has held Doc to another 15 years of a position as a head coach. That's about 13 years too many, in my opinion. Like, okay, like the Clippers days, like, okay, fine, he gets a job after the Celtics doesn't work out, you go to the Clippers. But the Clippers were like, and especially like, if you listen to the old man and the 3 with the episode with Jamal Crawford, and they touched based on Doc and the control he had in the locker room, he would like give up halfway through a playoff series. Like, he wouldn't even like be confident in the team anymore. And that comment he made where he was like, yeah, I knew that Clippers team wasn't going to win. What do you mean? That's your team. You're coaching them, right? And I bring that point up just to show that, like, I don't understand how Doc Rivers is getting a job over other candidates that are looking to get a head coaching position. And I don't understand why we keep recycling these head coaches that are not working out. For example, I saw Scott Brooks was in line to get an interview with Milwaukee. Why is Scott Brooks getting looked at again for a position? He could have won with the Big 3 Thunder. He did terrible with the Wizards. He destroyed the Wizards. And now he's on the Portland. The season he gets to the Portland assistant coaching job, they don't even make the playoffs, right? Like, they crumble completely. They don't even make the play-in. And now Scott Brooks is getting another chance at a job, right? It's like, why are we recycling these coaches and not, like, I don't understand the mindset with teams to, like, pave the way for something new, because clearly this thing isn't working. And at that point, you're just beating a dead horse.
I don't know why Steve Clifford is still in the league. What's he been doing, bro? The Hornets hired him twice.
Again, like, there's a lot of great coaches on the market right now that I would love to take a chance on, right? Like, if I was an NBA team. And again, like, I guarantee you Doc Rivers is going to find a job if he gets fired, which I think he will. Doc Rivers will find a job.
What's interesting to me is if we go through the history of Doc Rivers players that he's had, because I've heard this, right? This is the pro Doc Rivers argument, that he's had players that didn't pull through. CP, 0 rings. Paul George. Was it that year when Kawhi Leonard had a bad performance?
Yeah.
And Kawhi Leonard is not one to have, right? This
many
is not
bad
who he
performances.
is.
Yeah.
This is not who he is. He has James Harden Joel Embiid. Maybe it's his fault, bro.
Bro, hold on.
Maybe
now.
it's his
hold
fault.
It's not
on
like-
now. Hold on a second. Just let me okay. You're right about the players that this man has had. I will give you that, right? So I was sitting here thinking, because remember I texted y'all right before.
All I'm saying is dudes need confidence, and if he's not confident in his own
Right.
team, they're doing nothing.
There's an argument that I heard Stephen A. Smith make this morning on First Take, because when I woke up this morning, I was sitting here saying, I'm like, they about to say, yep, Doc is gone. Doc is gone. Stephen A. Smith brought up this argument, and it made me think to myself, with Doc Rivers, is it necessarily that he's a bad coach, or is it more pros and cons? Is it a situation where it's like, if a series drags itself out to 7, is it necessarily on Doc Rivers for not making late game adjustments, or does that fall on the players for not showing up? In this situation alone, this Game 7 alone, this is not Doc Rivers' fault, bro. Joel Embiid and James Harden go out there, and like Sainey said,
why is he letting Joel Embiid face up Al Horford though? Like that's my issue.
Well, here's the thing with Joel Embiid. I was talking to my uncle about this actually. With Joel Embiid, it's a matter of, do you think that Doc Rivers giving Joel Embiid advice? Because from what I saw out there yesterday, Doc Rivers was screaming, yelling, damn near on his knees, begging at Jesus to get somebody to do something. He was yelling and screaming at Joel to get his big ass up the court and stop running and jogging and huffing and puffing like a damn wolf. And then we get all the way up to, at one point of this series, somebody had brought this up on one of the shows. PJ Tucker had to go up to Joel Embiid and say to him, "You're the MVP. You're the MVP."
I saw that.
So in my head, I'm thinking, you think Doc Rivers ain't telling him that after he won it? Like, is that Doc Rivers' fault that Joel Embiid wants to not play basketball in stretches of games? No. Is it Doc Rivers' fault that James Harden once again played like dog shit in an elimination game? No. What else could he do?
No, but
Tobias
Hoop's point
Harris,
makes sense, bro. Hoop's point makes sense, where it's like, this is a consistent thing. Like, and you're forgetting the Doc Rivers Celtics teams, man.
You're right.
They crumbled that 3-2 lead against LeBron.
Yeah, it's so many players. Like when Kawhi Leonard did it, I was like, who makes Kawhi Leonard do that? It's like, there's no way he did that on his own power, man. There had to be something else there.
No, I agree with Hoop. I 100% agree with Hoop, where it's like, there has to be something to do with the adjustments or the tactics they're running under Doc Rivers, because there comes to a certain point where it's like, there's no way coincidentally these superstars just have bad games in elimination moments. I think Doc Rivers doesn't know how to handle an elimination game. And I would love to look at his numbers in playoff series that he's leading. Because he was leading he was up 3-2, right? How many times in this last decade could we see a Doc Rivers series that he was leading at some point?
There was a stat that they showed on ESPN. It might have been like 10 or 11, or like definitely over like 7 or 8.
This is his
series
10th
leads that he's blown.
His 10th Game 7 loss came yesterday. And when he's on the brink of reaching the conference finals, his teams have lost 10 games in a row, dating back to, that's a lot. Stephen A's point this morning was more or less, he did mention that, but then he was like, well, when you're wondering why Doc Rivers is or people are wondering why Doc Rivers still has a job, it's like, well, he ranks 9th all-time in victories, one of the 10 men who's won more than 1,000 games. So it's like, and when you look at the competition that he's in, the other 9 guys are in the Hall of Fame. So it's like, he's going to be a Hall of Famer at the end of the day, whether we like it or not. Like, he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach. And I said that, and I was like, you know what? That's weird. That's really weird for me to sit here and say that, as much as I despise this man's coaching decisions over the last few years, as I've actually sat and watched them live, you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here saying to myself, well, am I just forgetting that bro's won a lot? But it's how much of those wins count if you ain't making it to the conference finals in 10 tries?
We could also spin this around and say he's had so much talent to win basketball games.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think about it. It's like
Eric Spoelstra has taken. We could forget about the Jimmy Butler heat. There were like this new team. There was in 2016 when LeBron had left. They were on track to have a really good, like when the Hassan Whiteside stuff came out and Goran Dragic and what's his name, Chris Bosh had the lung or something.
Yeah,
they were on track to go deep in the playoffs without LeBron James. Like, he's just done this consistently with not underperforming. He's just gotten the most out of talent that's not supposed to, like, he just takes them further.
I think that's the right word to use. They overperform around the Heat, but when you see those players leave the Heat and they go elsewhere, what do?
except
there
if
is
your
a
name is
lot of
LeBron
cases,
James.
like obviously like superstars excluded, like Jimmy and Dwayne Wade and LeBron. Obviously they'll excel anywhere they go, right?
Doc just does the opposite.
Doc does the opposite. Like Eric Spoelstra really took the Lakers to 6 games in the bubble without Bam or Goran. It was Jimmy. I can't name you that starting lineup. I cannot name you that Heat starting lineup from that year. I can't, other than outside of Jimmy Butler. I think Tyler Hero was in it, but Tyler Hero was a freaking rookie.
And Goran was
injured.
One of their best players that year.
He had 20 points per game.
Ridiculous
20
in the
points
bubble.
per game.
Yes.
And Bam Adebayo had his breakout season. He's injured. He's not playing. Or he did play a few games, but he was injured. Like his hand was hurt. He was playing through an injury, right? We remember this, right?
Yeah.
Like out of the Heat big 3, 2 of them are screwed, and they take the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron James playing peak basketball to 6 freaking games.
Not only that, but they took the team that was the best constructed roster in the bubble to 6 games. Think about it. They had Rondo, Dwight Howard. They had height. They had defense. They had shooting. They had everything. And the Heat, shorthanded, took them to 6 games. I want to touch on this because can we circle away from Doc Rivers for a second? Because I do want to talk about the Heat. And I want to talk specifically about Jimmy Butler. I had a thought. Like earlier, I was prepping for the show and I was sitting here watching a video about like the bubble rematch, basically. And I sat there and I thought to myself, I remember the days where the media treated Jimmy Butler as if he was some spoiled brat, some diva, some dude with a big attitude problem whose game couldn't translate to back it. And I think it all traced back, because here's the thing. Jimmy Butler, to me, has always been one of the most misunderstood top players in basketball. What I mean by that is, I date this back to 2015. The first year that I ever got into basketball, as y'all know, I was a Chicago Bull fan, watched the preseason game, Derrick Rose went crazy, I got reintroduced to Rose, but at the same time that season, I got introduced to Jimmy Butler. That was the year he won Most Improved Player. And I remember as I sat back and as I was a kid and I was watching that regular season play out, Jimmy was averaging 20. That was the first time he was an all-star. And I sat back and I was saying to myself, if this is the decline of Derrick Rose and the era of Derrick Rose, the Bulls are obviously going to go in the direction of the guy they drafted late in the first round, who's proving that he can hang, right? We get to 2016. Fred Hoiberg gets hired. They let go of Tibbs. Tibbs was there from 2011 to the end after that 2015 season. He made it to the playoffs every single year, right? Rose's MVP year, the year that Rose was out, and it was the lockout year, 2013, 2014. That was when Jimmy broke out in the 2013 playoffs. But anyway, the point is that when Fred Hoiberg got there, I was like, bro, I don't like the direction that the team's going because I don't know what direction they're going in. The thing that I loved about Jimmy Butler was I was like, okay, well, if Derrick Rose is the guy that's going to go, which eventually he ended up going to get traded to the New York Knicks, I was like, I'm happy that the Bulls are going to leave the franchise to Jimmy Butler. What do they do, though, right? They bring in Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo for the 2017 season. I remember they lost the game to the Atlanta Hawks, if I'm not mistaken. And Jimmy, go ahead, Hoop, what were you going to say?
No, it's real hard to see Rajon Rondo in a Bulls jersey.
It was so weird.
That was 1 year, or was that like 20 games?
It was 1 year. I made the
I don't recall
like
that
at
all, man.
They were like the 8 seed. I don't remember none of that year. Nothing. And here's the thing. When Rose got traded to New York, I had a decision to make back then. I was like, do I really want to stay with the Chicago Bulls, who I thought had no sense of direction whatsoever for the next 5 years? Or I was like, do I want to take a chance and just say, fuck it, let's go to New York? I was like, yeah, Melo, cool, whatever, cool. Rose said it's a super team. Rose said it's a super team. All right, whatever. Boom. But here's the thing. I was still watching the Bulls just to see them decline. What they did get was Rajon Rondo and Dwayne Wade, right? They lose a game to the Atlanta Hawks. Jimmy and D Wade are cussing out the young guys on the team for not caring.
They had Powell, too. Wasn't Powell an all-star?
Powell was an all-star
2015,
in, I believe, 2015. Yeah. So,
okay,
but that was like the tail end of Powell was when they brought in the rest of the guys. But anyway, the point is that Jimmy got mad at the locker room, and then I remember they lost the game to the Knicks. Jimmy got mad again and, cussed guys out for not wanting to work hard enough, for not training hard enough, for not taking it seriously, right? What did the Bulls, and then he got mad at the Bulls organization and said, I'm mad at Fred Hoiberg. So the Bulls chose Fred Hoiberg over Jimmy Butler, sent him to Minnesota. Then we get to Minnesota. Jimmy, what happens? Late January of 2018, the Timberwolves with a 3 seed, I remember. Then Jimmy gets hurt. They bounce all the way down to the 8th seed. Then they eventually lose to Harden in the first round, right? Then what happens in the offseason? Jimmy's upset with Cat and Andrew Wiggins for their work ethic. He said, "Oh, if you look back at Andrew Wiggins and Cat at that time, it was they got all the potential in the world, but the work ethic, that's the thing they're missing, right?" Jimmy was mad at them for that. What is Minnesota? And then he's sitting here saying, "Pay me. I'm better than all of them. Pay me." What do? They let him go. He ends up in Philly. This once again, Jimmy's upset because he found a guy in Joel Embiid, right? And I still love that duo. I'm mad that we only got to see it for that short period of time. But Jimmy was upset because he felt like, and he said it on JJ Redick's podcast, he felt like he didn't know who was in charge in Philly because that's how dysfunctional Philly was. And then we end up seeing them pay Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. At the same time, mind you, Jimmy Butler got mad at Ben Simmons at one point for his mental, health. He was just like, he just doesn't seem like he wants to play basketball. What did? They chose Simmons alongside Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. And then he goes to the Heat. Now he's with the Heat. He's made it to the conference finals 3 times. The Bulls have not done that. The Sixers have not done that. The Timberwolves for damn sure ain't done that. And who am I missing? Is that it? Yeah. So, my
he
thing is with Jimmy
out
Butler.
everything perfectly.
He did. Oh, me or Jimmy?
No, I was saying Jimmy with
Oh,
Ben,
yeah, Jimmy.
Cat.
Yes.
This is crazy.
But the media was sitting here saying, "Oh, no, Jimmy's just, he can't be coached." I was sitting here like, he's cooking the starters in practice. If I'm a Minnesota Timberwolves GM and you were coming up to me saying, "You better pay me, Mo," and I'm like, "Nah, bro, I don't think you worth it. I don't think you worth it. And then you come into practice and you say, "Take the Minnesota off. Give me the starters. I want Cat." He took Cat in that practice. He was guarding Cat and just ripping it from him. And I had to sit here and watch this. If I'm the coach, if I'm the GM, if I'm the assistant coach, this man all he wants is compensation. That's it. He wants compensation and a competent team. That's all he wants. But you can't provide him with that because you think for some reason that the Minnesota franchise itself is bigger than this one player who is literally Michael Jordan's son. And has proven it time and time again. It's just insane to me that the media now is all, "Oh, we love Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy's the third greatest Heat of..." Shut up. Jimmy was right all along about every player, about every coach, about every team. And then you give him Spo. Once again, Spo is a top 5 coach of all time. You give him Spo, and like you said, what does Spo do with any amount of talent that you give him? Doesn't matter if you give him the greatest player in the world in LeBron James, you give him the greatest shooting guard in Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, you can give him Jimmy Butler, and you can still keep Udonis Haslem's ass on contract, on payroll. You can still do that. And you still can make it to a conference finals over every other team that dropped Jimmy Butler. And it all started with the Chicago Bulls. Insanity. Just insanity. Shout out Jimmy Butler. I know y'all speeches right now. I just had to get that off my chest. I'm tired of the media playing with players. I really am. I'm so tired of it. The disrespect.
I think Jimmy Butler is a special case. I think sometimes the media is correct in some of the things they say about the players, but I think Jimmy Butler is just a special case of he was right about everything, and I don't think we've ever seen that in a player where they went to 3 different franchises and they left each franchise not being the problem, but there was problems that were stirred up. I definitely agree. Jimmy is, I don't want to call him underrated or one of the more underrated players of this generation because I feel like people do give him his credit now, and everybody does talk about him to that level. Jimmy's that guy. I don't really know how much more we can branch off of that.
But let's branch off into what we think about, because somebody did say they wanted our predictions. So from that, we got all of Jimmy's greatness. We just saw Jason Tatum's greatness. Now they're matching up again in the Eastern Conference Finals. Isn't this like the 4th time? It feels like they've been matching up every fucking year. Isn't this like the 4th time in like the last 5 years we've seen Celtics and Heat or something like that? Something weird like that in the conference finals.
Yeah, and Jimmy also had his welcome video. Gordon Hayward would send out after he gets an injury or something, they play it on the big board. He just took a video of himself saying, "Hey, what's up, Boston? Can't wait to see you soon." The same vibe. So, I mean, he's on a mission. I just don't know if Duncan Robinson and Max Strus can pull through. They're going to need to shoot the lights out.
Max Strus proved to me that he's that guy. I don't know about Duncan Robinson, but Max Strus is that guy. I love Max Strus.
Me too.
My stock on Max Strus has skyrocketed after this playoff. I love Max Strus. I think he is one of the perfect role players for an NBA team.
But yeah, you get it. You get an aggressive Bam, a scrappy Kyle Lowry, which is just every day in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's also someone we talk about guys who just turn on the playoffs, like Jimmy specifically. The Heat have like 3 of those guys.
Yeah,
it is wild. Like Kyle Lowry was he not benched for Gabe Vincent at some point?
At
Because
one
he was
point,
shooting
yeah.
so poorly.
Yeah.
Now he's just, Villanova makes some really good playoff players. But regardless, the Heat can definitely make it competitive.
So
I think
give
the
me
Heat
y'all
win
serious predictions.
in 7.
Okay, there we go, right there. There we go.
Oh, man.
Heat in 7. Sainey said it first, baby.
Heat in
Ooh,
7.
I see it going 7. I see it going 7 too.
I hope it goes 7.
I hope. I mean, last year
I guess
Jimmy
I need a
came within
prediction, huh?
shot
Yeah, you
of-
guys. We need to make one for Denver and the Lakers, and
Yep.
then
Man,
that's probably
so
a good way to
there's-
end the episode.
There's still
Yep.
no hero.
I don't.
he
Okay,
ain't
there wasn't
co-
a hero for the
you ain't
Bucks
seen the-
or the
You ain't
Knicks
see the script, bro.
series.
You ain't see the script. Hero
Nah,
ain't come back
'cause-
to the finals. Hero ain't
I'm
come back
sorry,
to the
but-
finals.
Boston's a little different than New York.
Okay,
Um,
I agree.
Hey, I'll say this right now. I want the Heat to win. Y'all know I don't like Boston, but I think it's going to be Boston in 6.
Boston in 6.
I also really want the Heat to win the same way that I want the Lakers to win. But like I feel like it'll be Boston in 7. They do have home court advantage. So if you're saying that they can close them out in 6, I just think that they got Jimmy. So I don't think he's gonna let that happen.
It would be an all-time Missoula disaster class if they lose, I think.
It's Jimmy Butler.
Really? Is you?
No,
know,
I'm
I
saying
feel like
because
teams don't know how to.
Spo can coach circles around him.
Yeah. No.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
I agree.
Okay, I see what you're.
And
yeah.
speaking of the Nuggets and the Lakers, I don't think the Lakers make it. I think the Nuggets win in 6.
Man, once again, I will really want to see LeBron in the finals, which
Me
is like
too,
something I'm
bro,
not
me
used
too.
to saying. But man, it's down to Anthony Davis. I am going to take the Lakers, actually. I feel like
really.
MPJ needs to stand on his nuts and actually play like a somewhat, max contract type player.
Michael,
I
don't
think if
pass
you
the
get-
Rock Jr. or Porter
Yeah,
Jr.
dude, he's got to be on one. I don't know if I can just. I don't know if I could trust it because the Lakers got some pretty solid defenders in Vando and stuff like that. I'm gonna say Lakers in 7, I guess.
I want the Lakers to win so bad. I do. I really do. And the main reason is because LeBron can just add to the story. I don't know if y'all know this, but this is a quick aside. When Kareem passed up Wilt in '84, he went to the finals and he lost to the Celtics. So, with LeBron James and the GOAT debate about to get reignited, because I feel like win or lose in the conference finals, it's going to be reignited because they're going to be like 38-year-old LeBron, Western Conference Finals, came back from a 13 seed, all that, whatever. But if Bron goes to the finals, bro, and just closes the deal, breaks the scoring record, wins finals MVP, he is the greatest of all time. There's no debate.
You know what's crazy is he could have a Western Conference Finals MVP too,
He could.
which would make the debate that much nastier. He
Oh
was the
my
best
God.
player in 2 important series at age 38.
So I will say I want the Lakers to win, but I also have to say I got the Nuggets in 6.
Hey,
I just don't think that. I just think
I
Jokic,
understand it.
Jokic and Jamal, I just trust them over. Here's the thing. I trust LeBron and AD. I do. It's more of the fact that, like, I'm just scared for Anthony Davis because the 2 injuries that he's had so far in this season, which was the one where he couldn't feel his arm and then the one where he got hit in the head and rolled out in a wheelchair. It's just like I'm scared I'm scared that something weird's just gonna happen there because I feel like Jokic is gonna be there every single game. Like that's what I feel in my heart. I don't know if I can say the same thing about Anthony Davis, or I don't know if he is going to be there. I don't know what version of Anthony Davis we're going to get. I don't know if it's going to be as dominant as he was, stopping Draymond Green and Kevon Looney, and Jaren Jackson, which is okay, but it's Jokic, bro. There's levels to this shit. I don't know. I'm scared, but I'm gonna say Nuggets in 6, even though I want Lakers.
Yeah, the one thing I just wanted, I know we're kind of going over the limit, but if the Nuggets do lose, I alluded to it before, I think it would be on MPJ, and KCP would need to shoot 60% from 3. Like, I'm just scared that he's going to be so, like, shot chucker-esque. And when he's not on, like, it, and if Jamal Murray can be spotty at times, I feel like the Lakers have even though Anthony Davis with the injury history, they have more consistency when they're on the court. And I remember Sainey, your Denver Nuggets friend, said that about Murray.
Yeah.
We've seen that a little bit this playoffs.
Yeah.
Jokic needs people to hit shots, so he can't win by himself.
Shout out Pablo. Anyway, This is a great way to end the show. Appreciate everybody who was tuned in. Of course, we'll see you guys in episode 74. We have an exciting conference finals to watch, so we're excited. LePodcast merch, May 16th. Go cop it.
Sir.
Go
yes,
cop
sir.
it. Great quality.
Hey,
great
Series
stuff.
1.
Series 1. Series 1.
What do we call it again?
The LP Essentials.
Yes. LP Essentials bundle.
Bro, my Siri just activated on my computer when I said Series 1.
Anyway,
Hey.
yeah, we should probably end the show now. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys episode 74. Peace.
Peace.